Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to acknowledge and warmly welcome our distinguished guests. Your Honor, Mahir Özdemir Göktaş, Minister of Family and Social Services, Republic of Turkey. Your Excellency, our Consul General, Muhittin Ahmet Yazal, representing the Republic of Turkey in New York. Professor Salih Okur Gümrükçüoğlu, Chair of the Executive Board of Kadın. We are deeply honored by your presence. Dear guests, welcome to the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women 69 Sessions Parallel Event, Understanding Women's Labor, hosted by the Women and Democracy Foundation, Kadın. We are delighted to have you here today at Türkevi Turkish House, basically our home. This session aims to shed light on the often overlooked aspects of women's labor, both visible and invisible, and explore how these contributions are integral to social and economic sustainability. Before we officially begin, we would like to share with you a short film that highlights the importance of women's labor in various spheres.
Creating together, winning together, shaping the future, growing solidarity, and watering every seed that falls to the soil with hope takes effort.
Buradaki kadınlar ekmeğini taştan çıkarıyor ve kendi aile ekonomilerine katkıda bulunuyorlar. Sadece kendimize faydalı olmak değil, çevremizdeki kadınlarımızın da hayatlarına dokunmak istedik.
Biz bu yola çıktık, başarmak zorundayız.
İnanmak başarmanın yarısıdır derler ya. İnanınca gerçekten de oluyor. Ben çok mutluyum. Girişimci kadınlara destek olabilmek daha önemli.
Allah bir kapıyı kapatıyor, bir kapıyı açıyor. Açtığı kapı da Kadın'dı bizim için.
Üreten kadın, mutlu kadın, üreten kadın, güçlü kadın.
Becoming stronger, offering support, knowing you aren't alone, setting out on a journey, not giving up, holding on to life takes effort.
Bana enerji verdi, enerjimi, motivasyonumu yükseltti. İş içinde, psikolojik destek içinde, her şey için teşekkür ediyorum Kadın'a.
Bizim yüzümüzü tekrardan güldürdünüz. Umutların yeşermesinde bir parça payımız olduysa ne mutlu bize.
Sizleri asla unutmayacağız. Asla.
Igniting the light of innovation, boldly paving new paths, generating ideas, pushing boundaries, building the future today takes effort.
İnovasyonda Kadın projesi, kadınların elinden tutan bir proje. Benim içimdeki girişimcilik ruhumu açığa çıkardı.
Ama uçtan uca kadın ekosistemini yaratmak çok farklı bir konu. Bu anlamda da inovasyonda kadının yaşaması çok kıymetli. Kadın girişimciliğe dair söyleyebileceğim o ana motivasyon kelime pes etmemek.
Girişimcilik ekosisteminde kadınların ilerlemesini ve yükselmesini destekleyen Kadem'e teşekkür ederiz.
İnovasyonda kadınla ben de başardım.
Researching, producing, and teaching for science, raising voices in academia, leaving a mark on the future takes effort.
Toplumun her kesimine ulaşma hedefiyle projeler, kampanyalar yürüttük. Eğitim çalışmalarını hayata geçirdik. En önemlisi de hak savunuculuğu yaptık. Kadınların fırsat eşitliğine ulaşması, toplumsal hayata katılımda denge ve adalet sağlanması adına önemli mesafeler kat ettik. Bütün bu faaliyetlerimizin yanında akademik çalışmalarımızı da her yıl biraz daha genişlettik. Ulusal ve uluslararası düzeyde pek çok akademik çalışmaya imza attık. Kadın Araştırmaları dergimizin öncülüğünde düzenlediğimiz Kadın Araştırmaları Kongremiz de bunlardan bir tanesi. Kadına ilişkin konuların disiplinler arası bir zeminde tartışıldığı kongremiz, akademik sahada önemli bir boşluğu dolduruyor.
Turning a house into a home, raising generations with unparalleled sacrifice, being present in every moment of life, making the unseen visible takes effort. happy March 8th, International Women's Day, to all the women who give meaning to life with effort.
Thank you for watching the film with us. I now have the pleasure of inviting Professor Salih Okur-Gümrükçüoğlu, Chair of the Executive Board of Kadın, to deliver the opening remarks, but let me introduce her shortly. She is a faculty member in the Department of Legal History at the Faculty of Law, specializing in Ottoman law, legal history, and women's studies. She also serves as the Chair of the Executive Board of Kadın, and she is a mother of 3. Professor, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Honorable Minister, His Ambassador, Excellency Ambassador and Consul General, and distinguished participants and guests. Welcome to parallel event organized by Women and Democracy Foundation of Turkey. First and foremost, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to Mahinur Özdemir Göktaş, Minister of Family and Social Services of Turkey, and the Permanent Mission of Turkey to the United Nations for their support. I am pleased to be here with you today at this panel titled Understanding Women's Labor. The Women and Democracy Foundation is a women's organization that works towards ensuring equal opportunities for women in all areas of life. We strive for the fair structure of life and it is improvements in favor of women. We recognize that women play productive, transformative, and healing roles in all aspects of life through their labor. Ensuring the visibility of women's labor and promoting equal opportunities is crucial for recognizing and fairly valuing this contribution. However, we go beyond this and aim to develop a different perspective. Understanding the context and scope of women's labor is the first step. We believe that sustaining women's labor fairly is only possible when the necessary conditions and opportunities are in place. Accordingly, for the past decade, we have been conducting academic research, campaigns, projects, and fieldwork. For instance, in 55 cities where Kadın has representatives, we organize cooperative and entrepreneurship activities. Additionally, to help women's cooperatives overcome challenges, we have launched the Women's Cooperatives Empowerment and Coordination Center project. Though CoPro, we aim to solidify the institutional capacity of women's cooperatives, enhance their market competitiveness, and integrate them into broader business networks. We offer courses and training tailored to women's needs. So far, we have supported the establishment of nearly 50 cooperatives, creating employment opportunities for hundreds of women. Similarly, through our Women Innovation Project, we support female entrepreneurs, while our Job for the Future project prepares young girls under state protection for the workforce. To identify the status and challenges of women's labor in Turkey and to provide recommendation to policymakers, we conduct field studies and workshops. In 2022, we organized a workshop titled Women in the Workforce. The differences women face in achieving work-life balance limit their career development and reduce their workforce participation. To address these issues, we have prepared policy recommendations on women's work-life balance, which we hope will contribute to resolving their challenges. It's outdated to view the workplace as an exclusive domain for men, just as domestic duties aren't solely for women. It is crucial for society to recognize that both areas are shared responsibilities, irrespective of gender. Moreover, today we will share the initial findings of our qualitative research project, which aims to comprehensively and holistically understand women's labor. Distinguished guests, women workers around the world face similar challenges. It is a fact that although the manifestation of these challenges varies by region, culture, or sector, women remain disadvantaged in the workforce. Problems stemming from simply being a woman are most prominent in professional life: gender-based mobbing, harassment, discriminatory behavior, and inequalities in recruitment, salaries, and promotions are just a few examples. Furthermore, workplaces and working hours that are not designed according to women's needs make work-life balance even more difficult for women. Women often work in environments that do not consider cultural differences, family structures, and specific conditions. For example, we observe that the women are often not preferred by employers in the private sector. The primary reason for this is the perception that women may have to take career breaks due to the pregnancy, childbirth, and postnatal periods. Additionally, the immense labor of women who leave their jobs or take breaks to care for their children is largely overlooked. One of the most significant structural barriers women face in the business world is the glass ceiling syndrome, the invisible barriers preventing women from reaching senior positions. When we analyze the distribution of female workers by profession, we see that service and sales personnel constitute the most employed group, while manager represents the least employed category. Moreover, to secure place in the workforce, women must work much harder than men, constantly making sacrifices to maintain work-life balance. They must also combat numerous biases. I would like to mention a study conducted in the United States. According to the study, the presence of spouse and children's photo on a male executive desk creates a positive perception. However, the same situation for a female executive leads to the perception that she is emotional, does not take her job seriously, and is an ineffective and weak leader. As seen, occupational discrimination persists due to the perception of certain professions as male-dominated. The pressure to conform to an ideal woman image and stereotypes of inadequacy and weakness continue to disadvantage and marginalize women in professional life. Even in the 21st century, violations of equal pay for equal work, unemployment of uninsured female workers, lack of social security, and the predominance of women in part-time work remain pressing issues. It is the fact that digital and hybrid work models, which have accelerated due to the pandemic, have created new opportunities for women while also introducing new challenges. Remote work enables women to better manage their work-life balance, but also increase the risk of additional domestic responsibilities. Developing women-friendly, flexible work policies and encouraging employers to support women are of utmost importance. Implementing policies that support work-life balance directly contributes to societal and economic development by increasing women's labor force participation. Strengthening women's presence in the workforce is a critical step towards economic growth, social justice, effective governance, and sustainable development. Distinguished guests, another aspect is climate change. Climate change disproportionately affected vulnerable groups, with women being among the most impacted. Drought, natural disaster, and shifts in agricultural production directly threaten women's source of income. Therefore, developing climate resilience agriculture project is essential to ensuring that women farmers can continue production using sustainable methods. Women's labor practices, production method, and coping strategies shaped by the cultural and social context contain many policy solutions that have yet to be proposed at the macro level. Their contribution play a crucial role in combating the global climate crisis. One of the most overlooked areas of women's labor is care work. Although it has recently gained attention through discussing on the care economy, research on this subject remains insufficient and proposed solutions are still limited. Despite being a vital pillar of the economy, domestic labor is often not recognized within the formal employment system. Thus, better understanding the economic and social contribution of household labor and development policy recommendation for this area is a significant necessity. Furthermore, as an organization advocating for women's rights, I'd like to highlight the role of women in civil society organization. Civil society organization employ women as both paid employees and volunteers. Therefore, steps should be taken to ensure the visibility of women's labor in this sector, which is often considered outside formal employment. Honorable guests, developing policies and projects that support women's labor is crucial to achieving sustainable development goals. Through their joint efforts of the public sector, private sector, civil society, and international organizations, can we empower women in the workforce. I hope that the discussion and recommendations shared here today will translate into concrete action that further strengthens women's labor in the future. Enhancing the visibility of women's labor and ensuring that women play a more active role in economic and social life is our collective responsibility. I believe that this meeting will contribute to making women's labor more visible. I would like to extend my sincerely thank to Honorable Minister for making time to be here despite her busy schedule, and to all of you, our esteemed participants, for attending. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those opening remarks. It is now my privilege to invite Her Excellency Mahinur Özdemir Göktaş, Minister of Family and Social Services, Republic of Turkey, to deliver her keynote speech, but let me introduce her shortly. Throughout her political career, Minister Göktaş has been a great supporter of women's studies and initiatives, actively working on women's employment, entrepreneurship, and equal opportunities. She has also taken a leading role in combating discrimination and Islamophobia. She is a mother of two.
Thank you. This is important, the number of children now. So, dear Consul General, esteemed guests, it's a pleasure to address you today. In this meaningful event organized by Kadın, we will talk about the invisible and often overlooked dimension of women's labor. We will evaluate the vital role of women's labor in sustainability across all areas of life. Women's labor is more than just workforce participation measured by statistics. It's a fundamental pillar of development. From invisible domestic labor to entrepreneurship and professional success, its impact extends across all aspects of life. Women play a vital role in shaping economies and social structures, yet their contribution often go unrecognized. Recognizing its role in both micro and micro dimension is crucial for ensuring sustainability. This session is particularly valuable as it sheds light on the often overlooked aspects of women's labor, shaped by cultural norms and local dynamics. As Turkey, we are committed to policies that acknowledge and support all dimensions of women's labor. We believe it's essential to address not only its economic value, but also its cultural and social significance. Because only such an approach will guide us in achieving our goal of social justice and sustainable development. Traditional norms often limit women's role to domestic responsibilities, disregarding their contribution to social and economic progress. To change this perception, we are dedicated to developing inclusive and fair policies that ensure women's participation is properly valued. Collaboration with the private sector and non-government organizations is key to making women's labor more visible and recognized. This is why we prioritize initiatives that support women's labor and create mechanisms to enhance their participation in the workforce. We have launched the Turn Your Hobby into Your Job project to empower women by helping them transforming their hobby to jobs, advance in entrepreneurship and engage in e-commerce. In collaboration with the Scientific and Technological Research Council of Turkey, TÜBİTAK, we supported women's entrepreneurs in clean energy technology through training and mentorship. We launched a website to provide comprehensive services aimed at empowering women. Furthermore, we introduced Count Me In application to increase the visibility of women's cooperatives in e-commerce. In addition, we assisted in the establishment of more than 1,200 new women's cooperatives. Through the Women's Empowerment Through Cooperatives project, we reached nearly 15,000 individuals via training, consultancy, stakeholders meetings, marketing, and both domestic and international study visits. With this effort, we have observed that women achieve significant success in the economic field due to their productivity, adaptability, and foresight. Supporting women through policies is essential for their work life and entrepreneurial activities. In this regard, Turkey's 12 Development Plan is an important roadmap that includes concrete steps and targets to facilitate women's participation in the business world. Within the framework of the large set in the plan, we are working to increase the female labor force rate to 40.1% and the female employment rate to 36.2% by the end of 2028. It's not enough, but we have to work together. Dear participants, we aim to create new resources for women's welfare and national development. Through initiatives like the Young Women Building Their Future project, we provided training and mentoring to 2,700 NEET women, leading to the employment of over 800. The Turkish Engineer Girl project supports females studying aspiring to be engineers, offering scholarship, language trainees, and mentorship. We also promote financial literacy through seminars reaching approximately 800,000 women and collaborate with the Agriculture and Rural Development Support Institution to assist women entrepreneurs. Additionally, the Energy School for Women's project, this is a new project that we have launched, strengthens women's role in the energy sector, while the Turkish Entrepreneurial Women Cooperation Protocol with Hepsi Burada supports female entrepreneurs through specialized programs, trainings, and networking opportunities, empowering them to succeed in e-commerce. Recently, in order to implement all plans and policies aimed at empowering women in a holistic manner at both the central and local levels, we established the Women's Empowerment Coordination Board through a presidential circular issued on March 8. Dear participants, recognizing and supporting all aspects of women's labor in both the public and private sector is essential for sustainable development. We know that events like to focus on women's labor are not just a discourse or an academic debate. They are also a dynamic transformation process that guides our policies and forms the foundation of equality and justice. As part of this process, increasing the value given to women's labor is at the center of our social and economic policies. As I conclude my remarks, I invite all stakeholders to make a joint effort to recognize, support, and integrate women's labor into our sustainable development. I would like to take this opportunity to thank once again Kadın team who organized this important and meaningful event where we address such an important issue and and everyone who contributed to this event. I also appreciate the belief in building a global ecosystem where we can make the best of use of women's power, determination, and creativity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Now, because of her busy schedule, Honorable Minister has to leave us. We thank her for her impactful speech.
Thank you so much.
Yazdığımız mail yazıyordu. Şu anda söylenemedi ben sana yazdım. Devam edelim. Ben görmesini bekleyelim. Tamam. Senin mesajımı oku. Allah aşkına yazmadım.
To guide us through the rest of the session, it is my honor to introduce our moderator, Dr. Betül Özelçiçek from Kadın. Dr. Betül degrees in English Literature, Sufism, and Comparative Religion and Feminist Theology. She has over 20 years of experience in NGOs and currently serves as Deputy General Manager of Kadın. She is a mother of 2 sons. I think it's important to mention. Dr. Betül, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bushra. Yes, as a mother of 2 sons, I know the undervalued capacity of women's invisible labor. So thank you for mentioning that, especially. Dear esteemed panelists and distinguished guests, it's a great honor to welcome you all on behalf of Kadın to this important event. And today we gather here to explore the complexities of women's labor, both seen and unseen, within social, economic, and cultural frameworks. I'm your moderator today. I hope to have a smooth and very bountiful discussion together. And I have a little surprise for you all. I would like to begin today's discussion with a poem by Behçet Necatigil, a poet, a Turkish poet, who beautifully captures the unseen traces of labor in a house, in a home, a labor that is often unnoticed, even though deeply felt. The name of the poem is The Haunted House. Yeah. Look, the table has been relocated, moved by unseen hands. It's now found its right place. While we were away, without a sound, someone must have entered, unseen, unfound. Oh my God, the laundry is washed, ironed, folded, so neat. I remember when I left, a book, now put away, had fallen at my feet. I could never take a sip. Its base was mossy. No, this cannot be the same. This carafe is fresh and glossy. The old rugs, the worn cloth, now spotless, fresh as the air. The fire is lit in the hearth, the lamp is burning, casting light so fair. I felt an urge to lie and rest, as gentle hands my bed refreshed. A fairy's touch, so light, so near, soft as whispers I could almost hear. In every object, softly traced, lingers the touch of a woman's grace. This poem, written in mid-20th century, speaks of an invisible presence, one that shapes, cleans, organizes, sustains, yet is often overlooked. It's the labor of human. And although the poem is meant to be complementary or assumes itself to be complementary, it shows us how the human labor is seen, is perceived, and is expected to be unseen, unheard, always there, unrecognized. Well, I'm a mythology professor, so since the beginning of time, the female has been an essential source of creation, the origin of life itself. In mythology, in nature, in human history, it's through women that existence is shaped, sustained, renewed. Yet just as this creative force is often taken for granted, so too is the labor of women who contribute to the society. And just as history has been carried on the strength of women, so too will be the future shaped by their power. It's women's labor that sustains the world, and it's women's labor that will save it. For far too long, women's labor has been narrowly defined by the workforce participation statistics. However, the true scope of women's contribution extends far beyond these numbers. From caregiving to household work, from agricultural labor to community-based efforts, women's labor sustains families, societies, economies, whole civilizations. And there is a point I especially want to make. From the intricate handcrafts of Anatolian women to the delicate precision of their daily work, we see not just efforts but artistry, an infusion of soul into every task, every object, every moment. Whether through embroidery, weaving, homemaking, women do not merely perform labor. They create beauty, functionality, and continuity. So this panel aims to challenge the conventional narratives and propose a more holistic approach to understanding women's labor. We will examine how labor is shaped by cultural and regional context, how care economy fits into global economic structures, and how we can design policies that reflect the full spectrum of women's contributions, both in formal and informal sectors. And this event, that's why, is an invitation to women's labor beyond the traditional framework of employment. It is about making the invisible visible, understanding the true value of care work, and redefining economic models to incorporate the full spectrum of women's contributions. And before we conclude today, I want to invite you all to Women's Craft and Labor workshop that will offer us a tangible glimpse into this creative force, both from Turkish women and women from all around the world, showcasing how they transform daily into something both practical and artistic. I look forward to an insightful and engaging discussion, and I thank you all for being a part of this critical conversation. Let us begin. And our first panelist is Dr. Sherife Numan El-Emadi. It is my great pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker. And let me introduce her. Dr. Sherife Numan El Emadi. She is the Executive Director of Doha International Family Institute, DIFI. And she is also a licensed psychotherapist by the Ministry of Public Health in Qatar, specializing in addiction, behavioral disorders, and family therapy. Additionally, she teaches family relations at Qatar University, and Dr. El Emadi has also conducted several courses and training workshops in psychotherapy, family therapy, addiction, behavioral disorder prevention, both within Qatar and internationally. She has presented specialized papers at numerous international conferences and has co-authored several studies and research articles, some of which have been published in global journals. She has also served as Executive Director of Social Protection and Rehabilitation and Executive Director of International and Community Relations at Nofer Center. She holds both a master's and PhD in marital and family counseling from Manchester Metropolitan University in the UK. She was also awarded the Platinum Scientific Excellence Award in the PhD category in 2009. And today, she will be sharing valuable insights on understanding women's labor, shedding light on key factors influencing female labor force participation in Gulf region, institutional developments, and ongoing challenges. She will focus on how family-oriented policies can empower women and promote their labor force participation. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sherife El Emadi.
So I'll press this one, yeah? Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm also grandmother for 3 children. So exception. And today we celebrate like half of Ramadan with our children. So because we finish half Ramadan, so this celebration is very important for grandmother to be with their children. But I'm proud to be also with you here to present our work and support women and empowering women, and especially in our work in DIFI to like promote or advocate for work-family balance. So this is, we will be proud to be with you all today. So Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'd like to thank our organizer and dear friends Kadın for inviting me to participate in such an important event. Today, I will focus my presentation on how family-oriented policies can empower women and promote their labor force participation. I have split my presentation into 3 sections. The first discussion will women labor and evolving family dynamic in MENA region. The second part will focus on the impact of family-friendly policies on women labor, and the final part will showcase best practice from the GCC in general and from Qatar in specific. Oh, it has to be, oh, sorry. Okay, good. The first chart, which was preceded by our world in database of the ILO data, shows that around half of all women worldwide are in the labor force, but that this difference across world regions, while most regions are slightly or clearly above the global average, the Middle East and North Africa, as well as South Asia, have much lower participation rates. Okay. Within the MENA region itself, the GCC have some of the highest rate of labor force participation. In fact, there has been rapid economic growth combined by significant social development, especially within the field of female education. Over the past 3 decades, GCC government have made multiple investments in human capital development and actively supported women's employment, leading to a huge progress. Today, female labor force participation among GCC national exceeds the MENA average of 19%, with some countries reaching over or exceeding the global average of 47%. Education played a key role in increasing female labor force participation across the GCC. Over the past 5 decades, women's education has increased dramatically, often passing that of men. In 2021, the number of female university students in Qatar was nearly triple that of male students, while in Kuwait, the figure was more than double. Oman was the only exception, with a slightly higher proportion of young men in university. Although the race in education has not translated to workforce participation at the exceed level, Gulf women have made a more successful transition from education to employment compared to their contributors in other MENA countries. So, what are the factors that are influencing female labor for participation in the GCC? Firstly, stereotypes about women's role in local culture can limit their opportunities, including participation in the labor market. In some families, there remain strict views of roles which can cause obstacle for women in various aspects of life. These stereotypes can also affect family dynamics, making communication and decision-making more difficult. Another factor to consider is the unpaid domestic and care work and the increased pressure on women. For example, in research study conducted by DFI on family caregiver for the elderly in Qatar, we found that more than 70% of female caregivers were women. This is in line with the global trends where more than 16 billion hours are devoted to unpaid domestic and care work, according to the ILO stat. Within the MENA region, women perform 4.7 times more unpaid care work than men. How can family-friendly policy support female labor participation? In 2012, the ILO produced a guide to the maternity protection policies framework consisting of 6 sets of measures. The first of these is it's leave, whether maternity, paternity, or parental leave. Second one, flexible working arrangement, childcare arrangements such as the availability of nursing in the workplace and breastfeeding hours, protection from physical hazards that endangers pregnancy and women's health, health insurance and material coverage for children, non-discrimination in employment on the ground of maternity. The first 3 clusters or leave, flexible working arrangement and children represent an agreed framework for work-family balance policies. Excellencies, esteemed guests, allow me to present evidence of the impact of these policies on both family cohesion and female labor. Despite institutional development in the GCC, such as the establishment of the Ministries of Family in Qatar and the UAE, various legislative development in labor laws and development in terms of strategies and policies supported marriage and family cohesion. Work-family balance policies are still limited compared to international standards and best practice. For example, the most obvious right to maternity protection is maternity leave. The International Labour Organization has set the minimum maternity leave at 14 weeks, 98 days of Article 4 of the Maternity Protection Convention number 183 of 2000. yet only Oman provide this length of leave. In a study developed by Doha International Family Institute on work-family balance challenges and implication for the family in Qatar, which used a mixed method approach, including a qualitative approach by conducting semi-structured interviews and quantitative approach by conducting a questionnaire for a representative sample of 807 Qatari male and female employees with family responsibilities. In essence, the study focused on the scientific observation of the samples, perceptions of the extent to which work-family balance is achieved under existing policies and what impact existing policies have on different aspects of their lives. We found that only 8% of Qatari employees are able to achieve work-family balance, and it is seen by them as a major challenge. What is more notable, especially for me as a family therapist, is that 65% of these women feel consistently depressed in comparison to 28% of men. And in relation to their satisfaction with work hours, 55.6% of men were satisfied in comparison to 14.3% of women. In another report on work-family balance challenges and experiences of Omani families, we found that lack of work-family balance policies not only affect families, but they impacted mental health issues in raising children and work productivity. The report also showed that reaching work-family balance is more difficult for a woman. In addition to our study in Qatar and Oman, there are many other studies in the Gulf countries that confirm the same result. For example, a study in Saudi Arabia on balance between career and family life among female doctors at King Abdulaziz Medical City in Riyadh found that 56% of female doctors are under pressure due to the limited existing balance policies, which negatively affected family relationship and career development at the same time. In closing, I want to stress that in response to these challenges, Gulf countries have adopted many family-oriented policies that can make it easier for women to balance work and family obligations, therefore promoting female labor force participation. For example, study in Saudi Arabia requires establishment employee more than 50 women to provide childcare facilities. Kuwait provides its citizens with financed public childcare and child allowance. Qatar has recently granted female nationals in the public sector the options of working part-time for half of the salary and other benefits. This new law comes as a way to strengthen families and parental involvement with their children. Moreover, a Qatari employee may now be granted leave to care for their parents or relative, which supports females who take on the responsibility of the care. Also, a Qatari female is allowed to leave to care for her children with disabilities who do not exceed the age of 6 and twice during her working life, and to maximize a maximum of 3 years at a time. Our journey is still long, but we are making great strides towards a future where women can showcase their full potential as working individuals while keeping strong family ties, and it is through work-family balance policies that we can achieve such result. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for this very distinguished and intricate presentation, Doctor. And our next speaker is Dr. Fabiana Menna. She is the president of Foundation Gran Chaco and W20 Argentina delegate. She is also an anthropologist, one of the two anthropologists among us here today, and she has gender and public policy design. She has a master in gender and public policy design with 24 years of experience in development projects in Latin America and Caribbean, with special emphasis on women's economic autonomy and political participation, promoting gender mainstreaming in climate change policies. She is also consulted to several institutions and has her career to the strengthening grassroots organizations and empowering indigenous women in one of the most vulnerable regions of South America. And now she will share with us today on how women's labor in Gran Chaco region is deeply interconnected with climate change, poverty, and digital exclusion, and how their economic empowerment leads to transformative impacts, from building networks of women-led cooperatives to integrating traditional knowledge with innovative technologies. Her work demonstrates how investing in women's labor can drive sustainable change. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Fabiana Menna.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Kadın, for this invitation and all this great team and Turkish House to host us today. Well, I'd like to share with you shortly, as short as I can, a concrete experience from Argentina, the region in which I have been working for the last, now I'm not so old, but yes, for the last 24 years. It's located in the northern Argentina, but also involves Paraguay, Bolivia, and a little part of Brazil too. So it's a regional focus that we have been developing there. So let's see. Here. Yeah, okay. As my moderator already presented, I'm an anthropologist. I went in Argentina. I'm originally from Italy, but I'm now almost half Argentinian. I went to Argentina to work in an international development project between European Union and Latin America. And then I founded, when the project ended, Gran Chaco Foundation, because the idea was to carry on the work that we started at that time, but also to strengthen women organization, because we realized in that time that women were really excluded for all these different opportunity or project or training spaces that were implemented by public policy or international cooperation. So our idea was to support and to strengthen women organization, but at the same time work in a cross-cutting other programs that we believe that were very crucial to achieve a really and deep women empowerment that we are still working on that, the organization level, because we saw that many times project don't put in the right relevance how much important is to work in an organization level. We always are looking for a concrete result, but working in organization levels demands a lot of work, a lot of time, leadership, training, and also cultural processes that have been accompanied. So the organizational level is one of our most important part, and always our key point is generating income to labor, improving labor women in the different productive chain that are. We are talking about a rural area. I'm going to show you some picture. So all the labor strategies is related to self-employment strategy that we can follow in the rural different chain, handicraft, beekeeping, livestock, and so on. And all this work with a digital transformation focus because we are.
Please hold it to this side. Take it away.
It went back. Yes. This one, no?
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, this one.
This is the context and the region that I'm talking about. And in this region, we have, of course, a lot of biodiversity, but at the same time, and cultural diversity. In this region, we have more than 23 different indigenous people, but at the same time, the other hand of the reality is a very critical poverty of the population. And when we speak about poverty in this region, and not only in this region, because we know that it's a global reality, poverty has the face of a woman, rural and indigenous. No, that's why with this we saw that for one hand we had a lot of richness, no, but a lot of problems on the other hand. And I'm going to okay. Yes. So with this, in this context, and with this idea, we try to learn from the other experiences that have been developed in this region, and we understand that we needed to understand in a better way this culture, the society, and the relationship with the other society, with the national society and international too. That's why we develop a methodology based in, of course, with applied anthropology, based in research, and at the same time, from the result of the research, developing concrete action, but not without understanding. Firstly, in a very deep way, what is the context? How the local people, in this case, women, are perceiving their own condition and their dreams and their idea of what is for them progress and what means for them to improve their life, not applying other way or other ideas, or apply other foreign models to this context. That's why we work in this circle, because each action is related to the other. We develop all the time research and investigation, developing action, and learn from that and integrate it again a better and improved methodology and focus on intervention. No? That is the idea. In this intervention, when we are in the field, in the action, in concrete project, we are always looking at two levels. Now, in one hand, strengthening grassroots organization, because we understand that if we don't have women enough empowered, I don't like too much the word empowered, but but it's the battle that I can fight right now, to sit now in the decision-making tables. It demands a lot of work. It's not so easy. No, it's not to open a room and sit them in the table. So this is our focus, but at the same time to connect the grassroots organization with global, regional, and global network. And also at network level, I have to say that it's not so easy. No, it's not so easy to build indeed a real network. No, we have the experience with Kadın team, Nursem, and other delegates in Women 20 network with a very cultural diversity and so on, and we learn all the time a lot. And every network we are building, it's a big challenge, but we believe that is really important. So this is one in this grassroots network we have been building. This is an example in the northern Argentina. We are working with 2,600 women with an impact in 150,000 people. And based on this network, this is one of the network, regional network, which is Rede Chaco. Based on the network, we can improve women condition. Firstly, we make more visible the women's work, because one of the problems that we face was that the women weren't recognized as producer, as in beekeeping, in livestock. Also, handicraft was one of the worst activity, the worst payment they receive for their work. So we work in make more visible their role as producer, and then improving their association capacity, and we build in handicraft a cooperative, and now they are selling not only in Argentina, but also in Japan, in Paris, in New York too, in US. So through the improvement of labor women, we saw and we learn together with them that we can generate an impact at 360 degrees, because we can impact in health and education, because the income of the sales are directly used for children and for their education. And then we build on this platform, we build the first network for addressing violence against women, and then we impact, of course, in decision making a table, and we could make more visible. And now a lot of these leaders are reference, and that not only in their community, but also at national level in the different space of policy, of public policy decision-making tables. That's why I think that we should incorporate this holistic view, because it's very difficult when we are speaking about women to separate their work for all the community approach that women used to implement and to lead in their communities. We have a lot of challenges to scale up this model, but I think that key points that can accelerate this process and scale up at the regional level are innovation. We need to innovate in their productive system. We need to work a lot more and in the networking, but at business level, we can hope and ask women handicraft to be to cover all the roles. Now we need to connect them with other women, with other organizations, and so we can create an ecosystem based in a more equitable division of the value. And then, of course, training, a cross-cutting activity that we have all the time.
government, and civil society organizations, focusing on social welfare and environmental protection. With the support of institutions like TİKA, the Mavi Foundation, Yunus Emre Institute, and the Turkish Red Crescent, she visited schools, kindergartens, rehabilitation centers, women education and production centers, orphanages, and refugee camps. In many of these places, she met incredibly hardworking women, women whose talent and dedication were undeniable, yet whose efforts often went unrecognized and unrewarded. They lacked access to fair markets, and their labor was often undervalued and even exploited. Seeing this injustice, First Lady Emine Erdoğan was determined to take action. Create a fair market where African women's handmade products could be sold at their rightful value. Promote African culture on a global scale, showcase the essential role women play in sustainable development. With this vision in mind, African Culture House was officially launched in Ankara in 2016. Powerful examples of cultural diplomacy. The African Proverbs anthology, featuring 38 languages from 23 countries, preserving and celebrating Africa's wisdom. Meanwhile, efforts are underway to compile and publish proverbs from the remaining African countries. The African Food Culture Book, which brings together 110 traditional recipes from across the continent, showcasing Africa's diverse food heritage. These efforts do more than just highlight Africa's rich traditions. They show us something deeper, that women's labor isn't just about economic production. It is a force that strengthens communities, preserves cultural identity, and shapes the future. Okay. Over the years, we have hosted a wide range of events, from the traditional music concerts to art workshops and language courses, bringing different aspects of African culture to enthusiasts. More importantly, we have built a bridge between Turkey and African communities, creating a space where African artists, cultural ambassadors, and entrepreneurs can showcase their rich heritage right Turkey. Throughout the year, our events have attracted the interest of more than 5,000 participants. But our impact goes far beyond that. Through the events we have participated in outside of African Culture House, we have reached over 1 million visitors, sharing Africa's rich culture with an even wider audience. I'm passing now. Okay, yet in many cases, their work is undervalued and purchased at unfairly low prices, especially in global markets. Correcting this imbalance and ensuring that women's craftsmanship is recognized, valued, and fairly compensated has been one of our key goals from day one. Through our initiatives, we have created a platform that empowers women from 40 countries to showcase their handmade products, celebrate their cultural heritage, and most importantly, achieve economic independence. African Culture House has taken several steps. I want to show that. Okay. Educational programs, production workshops, promotion and marketing of products, preserving cultural identity. I think we have less time. I will show you here from here. Production workshop. We are establishing workshops where women can produce their handcrafted goods. Another one, promotion and marketing of products. We use digital platforms to promote their products. This is one of them. You can open here also. Through afrikakulturevi.com webpage and Duka Africa Instagram page, you can see and support the handmade creations of African women. A future built by women for women. At Africa Culture House, our work is about more than just handicrafts or trade. It's about creating a fair and sustainable system where women's labor is seen, valued, and rewarded. Together, we are not just preserving traditions, we are shaping the future, and that future belongs to women. At this point, I'd love to share a few concrete examples of what we have accomplished so far. Okay. Senegal Training Center, I'm coming now. Yeah. In July 2024, we inaugurated a training center in Senegal, offering courses in traditional fabric craftsmanship, leatherwork, and pottery. Here, women are not just learning age-old techniques. They are merging tradition with innovation, creating design that reflect both heritage and modern aesthetics. Actually, I have an example here, but I don't have time, so running now. In 8 months, a total of 500 people have benefited from Senegalese Center. And they are learning weaving, furniture making, welding, other creations, going every day. Now, Tanzania Handcrafted Centers. In the same year, 3 months ago, we also launched a handicraft center in Tanzania, focusing on traditional batik fabric dyeing and decorative handicrafts made from sisal fibers. I have a very good example, but I think we don't have time. Okay, writing here. Every day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday is working. They are going and learning weaving, furniture making, welding, and other creations, bag, lanterns, and keychains. A historic milestone I want to mention lastly. One of the most significant turning points in our journey was in 2023, during the 78th UN General Assembly in New York, when African Culture House signed a memorandum of understanding with the African Union. This agreement was not just a formal step. It was a historic first, as African Culture House became the first Turkish civil society organization to sign an official agreement with the African Union. At its core, African Culture House is a center of solidarity, a place where women's labor is celebrated, protected, and empowered. We are committed to making women more visible in economic, cultural, and social life, because we firmly believe that a society can only truly progress when women are empowered. And finally, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Kadın for organizing this important gathering and for its tireless efforts in making women's labor more visible in every aspect of life. Thank you very much. I want to show others.
I will very slowly walk to the mic.
Okay.
So thank you, Zeliha Sağlam, for giving us hope, but not merely hope, but showing us ways to integrate hope into daily life and practical labor actions. And our fourth speaker is Florence Aki, Executive Director of Refugee and Migrant Women's Initiative, RAMWI. And she brings a wealth of experience and insight into the often overlooked labors of refugee and migrant women. As the director of RAMWI, Florence has been deeply engaged in advocacy, community building and economic empowerment programs that support RM women in their journey towards self-sufficiency. And in her talk, she will shed light on the economic and social contributions of RM women, the challenges they face in accessing formal employment, and the ways in which we can create sustainable pathways for their inclusion. Please join me in welcoming Florence Egg.
Thank you, Dr. Beto. It's truly an honor to be among such an inspirational women leader. And some of you are also there. So if anyone have told you that a long time ago, if I don't remember when was the last time somebody said it to you directly or publicly, I would like to thank each one of you for the work that you do in whatever sphere, and especially thank you to our ladies for the organization that you have that is making an impact in your area of the world and allowing women to thrive. So thank you.
Excellent.
I will also like to thank Kadın. Okay, it has to happen with me, right? I will also like to thank the Kadın team for really bringing this platform, for allowing us to have a discussion about this invisible labor by women all over the world. I will be contributing by talking a little bit about the work of refugee women and refugee and migrant women. So we will call them RM to make it short, the RM women. Point toward. Okay. It's counterintuitive, but we will try. There we go. As the number of displaced people by conflict and crisis reach record level, I don't know if you have looked at the statistic, over 120 million people have been forcibly displaced, and more than half of them are women. And the length of displacement is increasing. Women and their families being in refugee camps or on transition, this length has also reached incredible record. Then it becomes crucial that sustainable solutions take into account the labor of refugee in general and of women in particular. So any intervention that will be brought in should take into consideration the invisible yet sustainable work of refugee women. So to talk about, and we like to call it labor on the move or women on the move, because with refugee we know that there's displacement, there's movement. I would like to set a context by explaining a little bit the work that we do. Then I will give you concrete stories of women to help you understand the value and the contribution that they have in the community. This way. All right. Our organization, the Refugee and Migrant Women Initiative, to make it short, it's RAMWE. So RAMWE, it's a growing nonprofit organization that comes alongside newly resettled refugee women and their family. And we empower, engage, support, and equip them during their hard work and the hard transition of resettlement to help them settle in their new communities. We do this through 4 strategic and comprehensive program and intervention that are designed to allow them to heal, allow them to grow in community, restore dignity and engagement. There we go. Our first program is called the Wellness Program. It has 2 service areas, what we call support group and healing circles. Our support group are general groups where the women, through tailoring program, are encouraged and equipped with skills and knowledge to navigate cultural differences, norms, and gain confidence in their ability to achieve personal goals. Our mental health circle that we call healing circles, it's also, the acronym is REACH, and REACH stands for Refugee Empowerment and Access to Cognitive Healing. This is our newest initiative and honestly our proudest initiative. It is a therapist-led, culturally adapted group that provide refugee women with mental health support and a framework to identify the impact of trauma and its effect. Women receive professional and peer support in a safe confidential and nurturing environment for 6 weeks at a time. This program is also a gateway for them to receive private individual counseling with certified therapists. I keep going backward. The second program that we have, it's called the Women Empowerment and Leadership Institute. We call it WELL. We love acronyms. It makes things shorter. The WELL Institute is actually a learning collaboration that brings together community provider, institution, private sectors, public sectors to equip refugee and migrant women with practical skills in a safe environment. Our workshop topics include advocacy, employment, introduction to entrepreneurship, disaster readiness. We are in Florida, so everybody knows hurricane. So we have to have disaster readiness. As women are equipped with critical information, they are able to reflect, share ideas, and develop leadership skills together. Finally, we also build economic empowerment. And just a sec. We build economic empowerment through a collaborative social enterprise model. And we call it So Much Hope Project, no pun intended, right? Refugee women in this program are trained in basic sewing skills. And after the training, they each receive a free sewing machine to be able to start their own business or join our collaborative. And later on, after this session, you're all welcome on the 6th floor to be able to see the exhibit and see some of the items that they have made. Incredible items. So they're able to learn supplemental income while they're sewing these high-quality bags, accessories, home decor that we sell on our website, in markets, and also in different locations. However, beyond that, this program is also allow them to build community, engage entrepreneurship. I love this quote. And we will all agree, when my hands are busy, my mind can be quiet. Our program are intentionally trauma-informed. As you might imagine, refugee women go through a lot of trauma. Every single program intervention that we do, we keep that trauma in mind. And we make sure that we consider that empowerment, trauma, and dignity are things that we like to include in our program. Transportation, and you can imagine all these barriers to transportation, childcare, and interpretation is provided for all our program because we have over 14 different languages from women all over the world. So, as described earlier, we do this with the hope to be able to, in everything that I described, I hope you were able to pick up that these women are everything than idols, right? They're, regardless of what life circumstances throw at them, the women are able to work and do certain things to keep going, to move forward. So what exactly is the labor of a refugee woman? Here, let me give you a situation, the global situation. As I've mentioned earlier, we have over 120 million displaced, forcibly displaced people in the world. Women being 49% of them being refugee women and 27% being in the labor force. Economically, when you exclude refugee, the work and the quality that you exclude and are unable to quantify the work of refugee women in the national GPD, recent research have shown that there is an annual loss in the global GPD of $1.4 trillion every single year. Formal employment for refugee women, my colleague have mentioned, have so many barriers. And you can imagine isolation, low access to formal job because there is limited educational attainment, and that's due to this disruption. In the host countries, refugee women also have challenges with language and childcare responsibility. However, this factor could in turn lead the refugee women to have the lowest employment rate and a gender gap pay. But women on the move, refugee women, are laboring. During displacement, there is an ecosystem in refugee camp, for example, that don't even begin to touch the global GPD. There's bartering, buying, and selling in these camps that oftentimes we don't capture. So let me tell you this through the stories. Nadine is a refugee from Congo. And she was before coming to the US, she went in a refugee camp in Uganda where she was able to teach children. She was teaching elementary age children. She had 3 children. She's a single mom. But then she was taking care of orphan in that camp. Not only taking care of orphans, so she has to find resources, provide for them, doing all these things. She kind of created a mini orphanage on her own in this particular camp. The work that Nadine is doing is what we usually consider communal, community-centric type of labor, and that is not quantified. What will it look like if you have to examine community-centered labor, and what kind of price will you be able to put in the work that Nadine did? Now, Iqbal is a refugee from Iraq. She was resettled in our community about 4 years ago. When she arrived, they worked with resettlement agencies, but 1 year after arrival, her husband passed away and left her behind with 3 boys. She doesn't speak English. Her husband used to be able to be the one to connect with everybody. Now, she has to take on role and responsibility she never thought she can do. She has to now look for innovative way. After battling the depression for several months, she told herself that it was time to step up and then move forward for herself and her boys. She has to learn to self-advocate, learn English, she enrolled in English classes, assess resources, prioritize things, and then be able to contribute. She was doing all of this while caring for her children, providing food, all that domestic work that we don't qualify as labor. How many job descriptions will you be able to identify in Nadine's story and Iqbal? So refugee women, truly their work, the labor of refugee women has a value. We were able to divide that as in 2 different groups. One is the intrinsic or internal value, like the domestic, the volunteer work that they do, the work that we do for feeling good, the work that we do just because we're women. The emotional support, which sometimes people forget is labor, emotional support. Just think about how many times you have to call your girlfriend or your mom for emotional support, right? Problem solving, mediation, all of this. And then external economic contribution, which is the art and craft, the selling, the buying that goes on. Recognizing and valuing both type of support and labor will not only enhance economic stability, but will also enrich social cohesion between host country. Thank you. All right, so these are we can do this during the Q&A if you want. Those are the recommendations. Yeah. You want me to, you will.
Okay, just one more.
So this is what, to be able to move forward, this is what we recommend. And it's based on not only research, but it's also based on our experiences. We are suggesting that if we implement there's an intentional recognition and valorization of the work of refugee women, or women in general, that will help address, and by helping address barriers and access informal labor market, it will be able to change and impact the economy. And this can be done through mentorship program. We hear about mentorship program. We also recommend inclusive policies that would encourage economic inclusion and access to education and childcare. Cross-sector initiative, partnership between NGOs, which we will be doing some networking, between NGOs and government or operative and private sector and stakeholder to create sustainable employment. We also recommend fostering initiatives that integrate refugee women into national employment and economic development strategies. Finally, we recommend improving legal protection, and that includes protection of women, equal labor right, as well as protection from exploitation, discrimination, and unsafe working conditions. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for healing all these wounds and traumas caused by the world's ignorance and cruelty towards that woman. And I want to thank you for all, on behalf of the world. Thank you for your efforts. And our 5th speaker is Dr. Nursam Keskin-Aksay, and she is the executive board member of Kadın, as well as the member of academic advisory board. and she is also assistant professor of social and cultural anthropology in the Department of Sociology at Marmara University. Well, I am excited to hear Dr. Nursem Keskin-Aksay's presentation because she will be delving into one of the Turkey's most comprehensive studies on women's labor. This research examines the cultural, social, economic, and political dimensions of women's labor in both public and private spheres, highlighting key findings from 12 cities across the country. And to present these findings, I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Nursem Keskin-Aksay, the project director of this extensive study. Nursem, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, it will be a bit hard to summarize this ongoing project. Actually, Betül was mentioning that this is an ongoing project of Kadın, directing by me, but she is also the coordinator situated in Kadın, and we have so many other coordinators as well. But my students and the researchers are already on the field, and the raw data is already coming all the time. That's why it was hard to analyze, and give you some findings and suggestions for 10 minutes, but I will try my best actually to do this. This study is based on certain discussion of my previous academic years because I am for the last 15 years working on women's studies and gender studies, but especially in women's labor as well. And when in Kadın we are trying to contribute conceptually and theoretically and methodologically into the women's studies, this is one of very important mission of Kadın. We begin to think about women's labor and then try to understand that what we can do about this. And when we look at the literature, we can see that there are always a focus on the economic empowerment, whatever it is. And this is not a kind of deeper discussion about women's labor ontologically and epistemologically to understand deeply. And that's why when we are talking about labor, we are mostly talking about labor force participation. We are trying to tackle this with this actually research. And this is the general outlook from Turkey and how we just came to do this research actually, because the labor force participation shows us that the educated women are much more in labor force in Turkey. And mostly this is a kind of, let's say, linear developmental understanding. At the same time, we can see that the occupational level is mostly in service sector and not in managerial part, and in certain not womanish kind of jobs are not including women. But at the same time, we saw that for the last actually 10 years, there is only 6% of increase in labor force participation in Turkey. This is interesting because I have been in women's labor, as I said, in Turkey-based studies, and in the last 2 decades, there are so many economic, political, policy-making actually contributions in Turkey. I mean, Minister was also mentioning, and I am engaged with different civil society as well, but still, women are not in labor force participation. And this has to be needing a certain deeper understanding that what is women's labor. Because it seems there can be still gaps, there can be still discrimination, etc. We know it, but there are most important things deeply to look at. That's why actually, and this is an important thing to understand it, when you look at women are working in labor force participation, but the working man and working woman ratio of spending at home in household or domestic labor is, when you compare in Turkey, this is 4-5 times more than men. And in USA, it is 2 times. And when you go to India, in OECD reports, it is 10 times. And in Europe, 3 times. I mean, they are still working, but the ratio they are spending in at home is not changing, even not decreasing. And this seems that we have to go ahead looking at deeper understanding. That's why we begin to problematize the conceptualization. As I said, we are theorizing and generating theory. labor force participation, these are overused terminology, international kind of agendas, but mostly focusing on economic empowerment. But we are trying to understand that what is work for women, what is occupation, for example, and we want to look at it in private and public sphere kind of discussion, not to make the binary opposition, but tackle the binary opposition, because mostly women's existence is still understood as a domestic thing. I mean, actually, Salia Okur was giving an example on the managerial table that how children can mean something emotional for women, but for men it is an empowerment. That's why we just begin to make this kind of problematization and begin to understand different levels of women's labor through body, through capital, context, perception, micro and macro level kind of understanding, and go to the symbolic labor, analytical labor, and emotional labor levels, that how we can understand them. And that's why we are looking at this quotation marks, things that normalize, invisible, under-recognized, embedded, unacknowledged, how they feel it. And that's why we just create kind of aims. We just said it several times, holistic and context-based, and try to give deeper and much more context-related kind of policy making. Actually, this is the main aim of this research. And based on this research aims, we built a research question. And this was a much more ethnographic research question. To the methodology, I will explain it. But what does women's labor in the public and private sphere mean for women, and how it is perceived? This is very, I think for so many statistical and positivistic kind of perspective, this is so much broad kind of question, but it is not. For women, it's a very, very intertwined and a very holistic experience. That's why you have to ask in a much more broader sense. And then we choose this 12 cities of Turkey, because Turkey is a deeper cultural kind of like a region that you can find so many different kind of women's labor experience. That's why we are trying to look at the different kind of contextuals. And then we begin to use an ethnographic method. Here, I want to say that this is an ethnographic method. We are mainly looking at personal observation, spending time with women, and context-based, meaning, experience, and process-oriented. I mean, before saying that what we did so far, this is already 1 month or 2 months, but it will be going on 1 year, actually. My first important thing is my whole team is on the field still, and there are 10 teams and 40 researchers from graduate and undergraduate levels. In political science, sociology, psychology, psychiatry, they are graduate and undergraduate students working in women's studies, actually, for a long time. And that's why I am very much honored and my pleasure naming them here as the group. And I am the director, but I said Betül is also coordinator, and we have Kadem coordinators and actually my own student assistant coordinators for this. Okay, two? What? Okay, this is enough for me. Thank you. Okay, then that's why naming them is very much important, and I will come why. This is the, as I said, we did so many participant observation, to 69 in-depth interviews already, and then 20 focus groups with 137 participants in different cities. But this all showing the statistically what we did so far, and it is interestingly overlapping with the general labor force participation of Turkey, that this is mostly university degree women, educated women that we are having, and at the same time from service work. But what they are saying is different than the things that we are seeing in policy making. But first I want to say that what is the ongoing process of projects, let's say, immediate outcomes. This is very much important for me. That's why I just showed you the team. This is already a kind of mission or role of Kadem as well. We are trying to engage so many students, so many people into this kind of research or experiences to learn and to experience and practice together. Because learning gender studies or women's studies is not easy, and understanding it is also not easy. That's why we are already engaging so many students into gender studies and women's studies. And this is, and we have so many men, including the students actually. And this is not easy because when you are doing theoretically, maybe it can work or not. But when you are sending them to field work, it is something else. And then you are creating a kind of research team that it can be helpful for other things as well. And the second thing, I mean, so many experienced women are knowing it very well here that when you begin to do something with women, research-based or experience-based, you begin to make some questions in their minds. And they begin to discuss, they begin to realize, they begin to aware of the fact that what they are doing, what is their body, what is their labor. And this was the mostly coming statements from them that, I mean, they begin to rehabilitate there, or they begin to understand their labor in a different sense. And this is reciprocal. These researchers were also understanding the labor for themselves and for the like participant as well. This was the, let's say, very, very immediate outcome. But of course, we have also findings I will be covering very briefly, and then I will go to the suggestions. But the findings is also not very much, let's say, mainstream, I would say, because the conceptualization of woman and the value of labor is so complicated than we are expecting, actually. Because mostly the women in the paid labor are knowing that this is wage related, etc. But when they go to the private sphere or private related labor in public sphere, they are not very obvious to describe that what it is actually. That's why we found out that this is a very contextual, social, spatial, emotional, ideological, religious, moral, and spiritual phenomenon that you have to go deeply. And work typically understood as a kind of job, wage job, and that's why what they are doing at home or in agriculture without paid, they are thinking it is not a job, it is not a work actually. And household practices are seen as a routine or part of their life, not as a kind of let's say something valuable in the economic sector or political economy, let's say. And that's why the internalized labor at home and not expecting a material reciprocity, this is very much important, because in Turkey as well, we are having policy making to give certain security and certain wage to the household-based women for their work. But mostly they are not accepting this. They are not trying to value their labor through kind of materiality. And it's a burden. You have to need to make this awareness first, but then you have to find ways that how you will materialize their value. Because most of the time they are finding that it is an emotional investment. It is not a kind of material-based thing that they are waiting for wage. This is very much important, culturally embedded, and it is not easy to change. But understanding and trying to make policy making with them is the thing actually. The second thing is the ambiguity between private and public issue. Like the existence of women are always giving certain invisible labor to the environment as a workforce as well. That's why they are praising so much the labor force participation, but at the same time, controversially, they are finding it very tiring. Very, very struggle-based kind of thing, that the powerful woman, as Fabiana was saying, that what is empowerment? I mean, they were saying that it is enough. I mean, it is so much for them that, I mean, they are capable of doing everything is not actually the case, and you have to do something else with this whole discussion. That's why the trivialization of women's labor is the issue, because the women at home are seen as subordinated, and they are thinking that if they are not in the workforce, really, whatever it is, they are not valuable. And this is also creating a kind of prestige, looking outside and in the public sphere. But when in the public sphere they are thinking that it's a struggle, they begin to attempt to go back to home. This is for educated women as well. This is for qualified women as well. I think it is in Turkey, but it is also in so many contexts in the US and in so many things. That's why we have to understand it much more deeply. And this is saying it, we are everywhere. We are everywhere right now, but we are still not seen. This is so much important. And that's why our suggestions are a bit different for the states, that we have to organize policy making also valuing the emotional labor, not only wage-based, not only economic-based, but trying to raise awareness for the society and for the family as well, that how they can understand labor as a holistic thing for the family itself. And that's why the man or the family members should be included in the domestic labor, but not as a kind of role only. It should be understood that it's an emotional contribution. I mean, because when the other side is going on, this is like a division of labor in the house, and this is not working for women, by the way. They are needing appreciation. They don't need help. This is so much important for them, actually. Yes, I think so far it is enough, but it will be coming. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Dr. Nursam Keskin-Aksu. I really appreciate your efforts in contributing this research. Well, as we approach the final presentation of today's panel, we turn our focus to a crucial and timely issue, one that sits at the intersection of human labor, climate resilience, and economic sustainability. And the force behind this presentation is Tess Mateo, who is the Senior Advisor to AQAL Capital and the UN on Gender Environment. And she is also the Managing Director of CX Catalysts, which develops public-private partnerships in clean energy, water, sustainable food, and health. And with her global networks and access to capital, she is a sought-after collaborator and a US W20 delegate. And in uncertain times shaped by geopolitical risks, AI advancements, and the climate crisis, the role of women in shaping a sustainable future has never been more important. Thank you, and the floor is yours.
Okay, I will give permission to whoever has to leave because it's 4 o'clock. Please go ahead. But I will promise you, if you're looking for cash, I'm the money gal. So everybody stand up because you've been sitting for 2 hours. You never, ever want to be in a place where if you're going to talk about new ideas, everyone's stagnating. So stand up, raise your hands, shake your body, turn around. Okay, now you guys can stand up if you want, or you can sit down. I just want to shake you, get some endorphins going, but you don't have to stand. But if you want to, you're more than welcome. And I'm going to go ahead and do the slides. So you have them. Let's see. All right. So I'm going to do this in 10 minutes. And I just wanted to share that, you know, I speak 90% of my speaking engagement, people ask to speak, it's 100% male, and I'm always the only female. And the reason why is that, and 100%, let me ask, how many throughout this whole week, raise your hands if they always go over the time limit in your sessions, right? I'd say 90% of the meetings that I've been to all week have gone past the time limit. So let me give you a tip, and this is a tip because I've been to the World Economic Forum in Davos for almost more than 15 years, and they give us very specific guidelines. It is 110 words per minute. If you're given 10 minutes, that's 1,100 words. If you have you know, each slide is considered 2 minutes. And so that's how you know how many slides to present and how many words to say in your speeches. And the challenge that we have as women, and if I hadn't been coached by the top CEOs in the world, the challenge we have as women is that we don't understand how to monitor our time. So rather than all this incredible information, they feel like you have to like rush through a presentation. So the most important thing in a presentation is to leave nuggets so then people will want to talk to you. You don't have to completely sell everything at the moment of presentation. And that's what guys do well. So I just wanted to give that helpful tip. So if you learned something today, it's that. So what is the issue today? We have geopolitical risk, not, you know, starting with what's going on in the United States, but all over the world. You also have the technologies and you have climate crisis. We've heard all across the world, we've got MENA, Africa, Latin America, Turkey, and all the refugees. We've seen that we have all of these women who've been displaced, who are not being counted into the economies and aren't receiving the resources they need to produce their biggest potential. Well, with climate change, that's only going to exponentially grow. Okay, so climate change is a reason for this displacement. It's because we're fighting for resources. So, oh, it didn't come out. Well, anyways, there's the IPCC report that actually basically, let's see if, oh, sorry, this is, I guess it's phased. We are in an incredible time, ladies. And if people don't take advantage of this, this is the IPCC report, which is the International Governmental Panel on Climate Change. This report was issued in 2021 or 2023. We have to hit and achieve net zero by 2050. If we do not, we won't have enough resources for the projected population. The challenge is that we're continuously not focused on the ball, which is to create the sustainable future, and women are critical to that. So if you see, you can get rid of all this noise if all we did was focus on creating the sustainable future that we need. And believe it or not, these reports and all the governmental reports, including UNEP, UNDP, UN Women, actually dictate what that is. So when you think about, okay, here is where we are today. We are now fighting for resources. There are more refugees. There's more migration. To what, if you had a sustainable future, look at all the resources we'll have. Look at all the abundance we'll have. And that's what you have at the far corner. And this is part of that IPCC report. These are all. So you have to change the mindset. The mindset is going from where we are with law of diminishing returns to where you actually have the accelerated returns coming from technologies. Never before have we been able to exponentially create opportunities and actually monetize your resources. So if you think of what all was presented today, right? So where we have, Fabiana was talking about the networking, the innovation, and the training. Wouldn't it be wonderful if all of the things that she has learned from her indigenous, who has very valuable information that now corporates and governments are willing to pay for, but if that was technology or that was available, that the technology, the AI, pulls it up so that these governments around the world can say, oh, look at what they're doing in Latin America, in which that could help my community. You also have, with respect to the family planning that we heard in Mina in Qatar, it's very important that the family unit is actually our very smallest cell of innovation and of change. And when you look about how you scale all this, of the studies that Nursem also had mentioned that's going on in Turkey, of the uniqueness of what people think of culturally, of what will motivate them to work. But if you change that mindset and you leverage technologies, that's how you monetize. The reason it's so important that we have to monetize this is we won't have the cash to pay for the services that everybody in this room needs. So this is just a report, why you should care about CARA. I don't think I need to explain that. We've heard that through all the speakers, unseen, invisible. Again, with AI, we now have quantum computing that's going to be down the pipeline. Now you're going to have, I'm a big investor now in the space economy because the data that's sitting on satellites can enable anyone on the planet, including all the women who are currently, displaced as, or where we can train them to use these free technologies and these free data points, is now available for everyone to use. So these are just some of the things that, when you wanted to summarize, what does the private sector do? And the private sector is all about innovation. And what they've done and what has changed dramatically in the last 20 years is because now we have data. Before 2000, we didn't have the data to actually quantify the value of women. And so since the McKinsey's report, since we're now able to calculate these data sets, now in 2017 when Thomas Piketty wrote the book on capitalism, that was the first time we could actually measure inequalities inside of countries and across borders. So every day we have new innovations. We have them specifically in these 6 sectors that I identified that are all critical to women's jobs in agriculture, in caregiving, as well as in resource management. So just leveraging these examples. And I'll give you an example, is Odetta. I don't know if people have heard of it. It's a platform in which women can then sign on for jobs with respect to either ed tech or coding or anything with technology. You also have other platforms in which for caregiving, where in the United States, it's people who need their pets walked or you have TaskRabbit so that you can have things assembled, or you have another platform which is also doing where you can sign up to just think of Airbnb, if people know what Airbnb is, where you have excess capacity. Well, the same thing's happening for human capital, not just hard assets, but human capital. And then so one of the things that is really important, and then I'm going to just summarize this up, is that when the women are, when there's unutilized capital, whether it's human capital, hard capital, financial capital, it's when it joins the mainstream economy, that's when it gets counted. And the critical part that we have in our women's labor is that we can't be seen because we're not joining into that formal economy. But there is the W20 has made it a very, very priority to make sure that we increase women's participation in the workforce, because when they get counted, then the allocation of resources becomes much more direct. So I think I want to end with that. Here are just some of the ideas of what needs to happen going forward. And then there's the policies directly. So in summary, I've showed you how I'm giving you just nuggets, because I hope that you guys will all contact me if you want more information. But it's really important that as women, that for our voices to be heard, that we also play by the rules that, unfortunately, until we have 30% access to everything, then we're always going to be sitting for permission. Thank you.